Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday. This is February 14th, Valentine's Day. Steve Edwards, would you be my Valentine? He had no idea that was coming. No, he's already spoken for.
I had to get me some coffee.
You got to stay awake. It's Valentine's Day. You got to have a hot date tonight.
My wife says to me, don't worry about Valentine's Day, honey. That's just for the guys who forget who their Valentine is. Me, I remind my Valentine every day like you do that they're my bestest girls.
That's right. Folks, it is Valentine's Day, and we sure do hope that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, that you know that you're loved, that you know that you're cared for. And I know that there are seasons of life where that doesn't feel like it's the case, but by golly, you've got a Savior who loves you and cares for you every day that ends in Y and then some. And so if you ever have any questions about that, feel free to ask us. My name's Dave. This is Steve Edwards. Every Tuesday we get together to talk about mules and donkeys. Today is no exception. It is February 14th, 2023. Folks, we're only going to get one, so we're going to make it a good one. And one way to make it a good one is by talking about mules and donkeys. So really, there's three things that we need you to do right now. Number one is we need you to put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like in the comments section. You see Dave O'Brien setting a great example for us over there on Facebook. Y'all follow Dave O'Brien's example because it's a good one, and we want to hear from you. So your name, where you're watching from, what the weather's like. The second thing, ask any and every mule or donkey question that you've got. We want to help you get out there, gain the trust of your animal, get results with your training so that you can live a life that is fulfilled, experience God's creation, which is the mule and the donkey. And then the third thing is that you share the broadcast. The way you do that on YouTube, very simple. Click like, then click subscribe, pop on notifications, click the share button. Seems like it's a lot of steps, but it's really quick. I guarantee, I'm going to challenge you. I'm guaranteeing you can do it within 5 seconds. Let's see if you can make that happen. On Facebook, it's very easy. Tag a friend or family member in the comment section or click the share button. Steve, how have things been since February 7th, 2023?
It's been rainy, which is nice. And right now, it's a cold, windy booger out there.
Yeah, it is. I heard word that at 1,500 feet elevation, there's a potential for it to actually snow tonight.
Woo!
In Arizona. About once every 20 years, it seems like it'll do some sort of snowing in places that it normally doesn't. And if it happens tonight, that would be second time within like 5 or 6 years, I think, which is really, really fun for us. We get to see it on, so you see my picture in the background here. That's Montana. But that's the way it looks when you're driving around the valley. You get to look out and you can see all of the snow caps on the top of the mountains, and it's real pretty in the desert. Speaking of Montana, we would love to see you in Montana. Of course, we'd be there too, June 2nd through the 4th. Steve is taking the Queen Valley Mule Ranch on the road, and he is going to be in Montana. It is a multi-day clinic. And it is your opportunity to work directly with Steve. And if you want to bring your mule, bring your donkey, do it. Steve would love to work with you and help you get insight into your animal. But if you'd like to come and be a spectator and just watch everybody else doing that, it's an incredible experience. There really is no value like it. It's a lot of fun, and you get to meet a lot of great people. Steve, what are we going to be talking about in Montana?
Oh, golly. We're going to have, talk about people traveling. Virginia, I mentioned to you before, she's going to travel by herself all the way from Santa Fe, New Mexico, all the way to Montana. She bought a special trailer, and Virginia has been working with her mule consistently. I'm looking forward to seeing her up there, along with several others. We're going to be, the best way to say it is, learn how to communicate with your mule. Learn how to communicate. Use your hands, your voice, and your seat, and your legs, okay? And I'm going to show you also things, and I'm going to talk about what you don't do. What you don't do is, let's say you got to cross a creek. Your mule won't cross it, so you go with another mule first, and then that mule follows that mule. That mule listen to that mule, not listen to you. okay? Or like I saw the other day, this so-called mule trainer had a big rock right there with a person, and they tied ropes to the front of his legs, of the mule's legs, and the lady was sitting on the mule, and he pulled on the ropes on the legs, and the mule climbed up on top of the rock. That is not communication, folks. How many are going to get off of your mule, put ropes on the legs to get them to cross the river, and you're going to have to cross the river? Oh, bad idea. No, no, no. Folks, it's not important. Get this. It's not important to ride and follow somebody else or to use some kind of mechanical something to make them do it. That's what you're going to learn there at my clinic. You're going to learn how to use your legs. You're going to learn how to use your hands. In other words, you're going to learn to communicate with your mule. Riding, yeah, we'll probably do a little bit of riding, but the riding's not the important part. Do I want to see you go through all the aspects? Yes, and we're looking forward to it. I was talking to Ron today, and he's getting things ready. But things are pretty cold up there in Montana right now, but we're going to learn how to communicate with these animals, learn how to teach them how to pick up their feet, learn how to load them in a trailer, learn how to get them to stand still and quiet. You are going to see, Dave, we're going to have all kinds of mules standing out there, ground tied, and people learn how to saddle them and stuff without tying them to a hitching post. We're gonna do lots of things.
Sorry about that. So I just got a notification my computer's not charging, so I was trying to plug it in. So I'm going to have to do that still. Let's hop over and see who's joining us. Dave O'Brien, East Texas, 71 degrees and sunny. Happy Valentine's Day. Jenna Shepard, Steve and Dave, hi. Sabrina's watching from Central Valley, California, overcast and 55 degrees. All right, Dave O'Brien's giving me an opportunity to plug in my laptop. We got a question for Steve. When I put the come-along rope on my mule, she shakes her head 3 or 4 times every few minutes. She doesn't pull up on the rope, or she doesn't pull on the rope, but it's sort of a strange behavior. I was curious what that meant.
It basically says to you, hey, I'm uncomfortable here, and I want this thing off. Well, you know what? Life is not Burger King. Mule, you don't get it your way. No. Yes, you're uncomfortable, but yes, you're going to have to pay attention. And when she does shake her head like that, Dave, just take your hand and give her an asking, little sharp little bump. What she's saying is, take it off. It makes me uncomfortable. You're going to say to her, you're going to be more uncomfortable if you keep shaking your head. Okay? Let them get over it. They don't, they will learn to comply and they will learn to be quiet. And we have to learn to be patient, and we have to learn to communicate and see what they're saying and doing. But hey, Dave, my brother, congratulations on your come along rope work. Good for you.
Awesome. Continuing on here. Let's see here. Jenna says it's snowing like crazy here in Santa Fe, Oklahoma. Another question. The farrier came to see Edie yesterday and said she has thrush. Oh no. It's been so muddy and snowy here, her feet have been caked with mud. What do you recommend for treatment? The farrier says it's not terrible, but needs some medication. Virginia, Jenna Shepard here. So what is thrush, and what would you say she needs to do?
Okay, thrush is basically a kind of a fungus. It's white, real powdery, and it sucks the life out of the sole. So you can take your paring knife or a brush and clean it up a little bit. I use personally, I use straight Clorox. Okay, you can either pour it on there or you can spray it on there. Put yourself some gloves on, wear some clothes that you don't have to worry about getting white spots on from the Clorox. But Clorox is the best way. And here's the thing: yes, wet and muddy. And folks, all of you need to do this. You need a place under roof where the ground is higher than the rest of your corral. And that's what you see in my corrals. We had somebody last week, Dave, said, can you send me a picture of your corrals so you can see what it looks like? Well, they're 10 foot wide, 20 foot long. One half of them, so 10 foot, is under roof. That part is higher and is under roof so that we can help be dry. And I use, folks, I use granite, and I use quarter minus. And that way that granite is it's hard for them to chew on for one thing, because they will eat dirt. Yeah, they will. They like to chew. But granite packs good and tight, packs really good. So that's what I use. Use Clorox on it, spray it on or pour it on, clean it off first with a brush. Thrush is a normal part of life. But here's the thing, folks. During the winter time, you're not going to be shoeing much unless you have a serious problem with your heels contracting. Then yes, you're going to need to keep shoes on because you're doing some work to the heels to make them correct. Uh, I use just straight Clorox. That's the best way to do it.
All right, very good. Moving right along. Let's see here. Virginia says, woohoo! So excited to see you, Steve. Edie excited to get a scratch from you, too. The farrier called Edie a character. I think it was a compliment. Grandpa Steve is watching from Brady, Delta, Colorado, where there are blizzard conditions. Gerald is watching from Hardy, Arkansas, raining and cool. Rory here from Southwest Ohio, starting to rain lightly. I just took a nice little molly today. 14 hands, fair condition, and nice temperament. No real ground manners, but come along, come along, come along. Steve, why does Rory love the come along with this nice little molly? Tell me about it.
The nice little molly will be even better when you use the come along hitch, because the come along hitch is the best communication tool that you can use with your mule. Communication. So if you want to cross over a tarp, yes, it's good to practice to do that. With the come along rope, it communicates to the back of the pole, around the nose, and underneath the chin. Underneath the chin, you have a lot of nice little nerves back in there. Across the top of the nose, 2 inches above the nostril, you got a lot of little nerves in there. And then behind the pole. Behind the pole, when they pull back, they hit the nerves there, they pull back. Some, they just pull back drastically, okay? But it's no big deal. Just bump, 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 and they'll get over it. We got some pictures of David from Australia, and he's training on the colt. And you can see in just a matter of a few minutes, and literally minutes, the colt is paying attention. Will they rear up? Yes. Will they be a little foolish? Yes. But the best tool that you can have to say, I want you to go forward. I want you to load in this trailer. I want you to go over this tarp. I want you to cross over this mud puddle. Set yourself up a really neat little trail course, crossing over a bridge, going over a teeter-totter, whatever. But the come along hitch will give you really refined communication. You don't have to do like that one trainer, tie some ropes on the leg, pull on the ropes, put yourself in danger, by the way, because if that mule rears up, that guy's going to get plowed. But anyway, use the come along hitch. It's a great communicator, because you see, mules care more about their nose than they do their mouth. So by using the come along hitch and using it correctly, you're going to get the mule to go where you want to go and do what you want to do.
Awesome. Very good. David Scholes here. Good morning from Queensland. Hot and humid today. That means we have gone international. Good to have you here, Mr. Scholl. Tell Di we said hello. Cruising right along, folks. He's going to be there at Montana. Absolutely. It's going to be great. Cruising right along. Got a question. Virginia did send in a question. I think I got my herd leader badge today. I was here in Santa Fe, and I'm pretty sure Edie was on sentry duty last night and got spooked in her big corral, which is surrounded by the wild countryside. She wouldn't eat her breakfast until I took over guard duty and played lookout at the fence. All was well until I decided to leave. She was not pleased and started racing around the fence next to me. I returned to her, took up my guard duty again. Sure enough, she settled right in and started calmly eating. But when I left a second time, she had another fit. I'm glad she sees me now, But when does this herd leader get a break? What should I do? Thank you for your advice. Signed, Virginia, herd leader looking for a break.
I can't wait to see Virginia there. Her little mules, boy, she's really been through it. Dave, she's gone to several different stables. I had one lady from one stable where she was at telling Virginia, "Oh, Virginia, don't do it like that. Oh, you're going to make a mess of her." And that lady even called me and said, "Hey, do you really want Virginia to do this?" And that was the come along hitch and some other things, and don't put them out with a bunch of other animals. A lot of things that I've done. So let's go back, Virginia. It will get to where it gets to be less and less. It's really cool that she's really paying that much attention to you, that she feels that attached to you. Wonderful. That doesn't happen very often, Virginia. Congratulations. So when? I don't think there's really a time frame. Will it happen? Yeah, eventually she will. Okay. And sometimes it might be a little bit on your point. It could be a point of a little bit of tough love to where you just go ahead and climb in a car and go. Okay. Which is fine. I tell you what, some people have done. Even they've hooked up cameras in their corral so they can watch the mule and see what's going on with it. So that's a unique thing. But hey, Virginia, I'm looking forward to seeing you up there in Montana. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Hannah is watching from Dunalin, Ocala, Florida. 78 degrees and gorgeous. Susan is watching from Wisconsin, where it is 39 degrees and raining there. So hope you stay nice and dry. Steve, I've got a question for you. Of course, the interwebs can be a pretty dark place. You got a lot of these people who are backyard trainers, Facebook experts, YouTube trolls, all sort of things. But we do like to take what people ask and what people say. And when it's a decent question, or maybe it involves a good teachable moment, we do it. So someone was watching some of your videos and said, this guy is all about control. Now, I don't know if they meant it as a positive thing or a negative thing. But when we talk about training, when we talk about working with these animals, that got me thinking of, I can't remember what the term is for it, but teaching with pain. What's the term for it? It's like, I can't remember. There's a phrase that folks use, pain communication or whatnot. Anyways, talk to me very briefly about the whole idea of communicating from the nose. People are very concerned that there's cartilage right there on the mule and the donkey, and they feel like it needs to be higher up, not down on the tip. Talk to me a little bit about that, and talk to me about why people consider that maybe abuse, but they don't know better. What do you have to say there?
Well, unfortunately, people are just pretty much satisfied with doing what they've always done for years. Only problem is they're not getting anywhere. They're still in the same place they were in the very beginning. Now, like Virginia, you can see Virginia, she's actually getting somewhere. She's actually winning with the training. The idea here, folks, is to use less to get more. Okay, that's a Tom Dorrance term. Tom was a famous horse and mule trainer, great guy. People should know more about him. Anyway, in the very beginning, yes, you have more discomfort than normal. Now, it's not a big deal because you see that's the way it's communicated in the horse world. And Virginia can tell you this. That's the way it is in the equine world, I should say, because a mare will pin her ears. She'll say, "Don't do that again." And the young mule keeps on doing it. Then that mare will pin her ears and swish her tail. She just asked, and now she's telling, "Don't do that." And now she's demanding spinning and kicking. Okay. Now, you and I cannot handle a kick. These mules can. Their pain threshold is phenomenal. So, by using the come along hitch, communicating to the nose, mules and donkeys are more refined, do a better job than they do with a halter clear up on the nose. There's some videos out there of people being dragged all over the place by these mules, and now they're holding on to them. Now, wait a minute. When a 200+ pound person is holding on to the nose, don't you think that is a lot of weight? Yeah, it is, okay? But that's why I say bump, bump, bump. Start small with the mule's head just being quiet and in one spot. If the mule's nose looks to the right, bump his nose. Come back to straight. If he looks to the left, bump his nose. Come back straight. If he looks up, bump his nose. Come back straight. So start small. Work your way up. Like this guy I was telling you about that tied ropes onto the mule's leg to get him to jump up on this rock. Now, yes, that's a good deal. The mule climbed up on a rock, but the rider didn't do it. The mule did it because of the pressure on him. Why not? And besides that, who's going to get off and climb in a river to get the mule to cross the river? Let's go on. Why not learn how to use your legs properly? Your side of your calf, side of your heel, and your spur. All three to be used, along with your hands and a proper bridle. Okay? So, it is unfortunately part of the equine world. Part of the equine world to have discomfort, pain, if you want to call it. I have seen other mules bite other mules because they wanted their attention. They wanted them to do what they wanted them to do, and the mule wasn't complying, or the horse bit the others. I have literally seen, Dave, a horse, a mare horse, the leader, her leader, take another mule and just bash it to the ground, stomp it, bite it, and you would think, man, that mule will never go near that horse again. Nope, just the opposite. That mule got up, shook himself loose. That mare had walked off. That mule got in behind her, ducked his head, licked his lips, and followed her right over there. Folks, that's part of life. Being uncomfortable makes you learn. I've got 32 broken bones and 2 replaced hips. I would be made uncomfortable. I did a lot of stupid things when I was younger. Now the things that I do are to keep me safe. And I want them to keep you safe, all right? Very, very important. So that come along hitch works correctly. When people are using a rope halter, they're using it incorrectly. Knots are in the wrong place. They're too high. They have to work very hard to get the mule to do anything. And besides that, you can teach very little with a halter that's not adjusted correctly.
All right, hopping back over to YouTube. Steve, let's see here. Steve, where did you learn the the come-along hitch? What is the difference from the horse palate and a mule palate?
Okay. So where did I learn it? A guy by the name of Nick West from Alberta, Canada, up around Sundre. He had come down here during the winter time to get away from the cold and snow. Working cowboy. He was on the Calgary Stampede board. If you go to look up Nick West in the history books of Canada in Alberta, he's there. And I learned to come along hitch from him. The difference in the palate is that the palate of the mule skull is a little bit more rounded, where the horses is a little bit more flatter. And I haven't paid a lot of attention to that because the palate is what rubs on the roof of the mouth with the bit. But the nose, when I found that I could get more done quicker by using the come-along rope with the mule's nose, mules were a lot more sensitive. They paid a lot more attention quicker with that come-along hitch. Nick West trained thousands of horses. Matter of fact, he used to tell me, Steve, we used to go out, him and his partner, and they would go out, and there'd be, in this one valley, there'd be a train pull up on a track, and there'd be thousands of horses out there, ranches all over the Canadian area, brought their horses there to be sold, bought by buyers, loaded onto a train car, taken to the States for the American farmer. That's what they did. Now, they would get $25 if they could lead a horse up the ramp and into that train car. $25. And the two of them. He said, Steve, now this was folks, this was back in the 30s and 40s when $25 was a lot of money, you know. And he would tell me, he said, Steve, we could sometimes make $50, $75 a day. Now that was a lot of money back then, okay? And they used that come along hitch. First, they roped the horse. They choked it. You hear that? They roped it. They choked it down. They took the breath away. It hit the ground. They had another rope on the back legs. They spread them apart where the horse wouldn't get any fights. Now, folks, these are big 5-6-year-old stout horses that grew up in the mountains in the Rocky Mountains of Canada. Okay, big stout horses, and some of them wouldn't even gelded, by the way. And so they would then, while the horse was on the ground or when he stood up and was quiet, they would then put the come on hitch. Now remember, these horses are running everywhere. Horses, hundreds of horses running everywhere. So the only way they could catch him, the only way was to rope him. Rope a hind leg, take a hind leg away, or rope on the head, choke him down, and that's how you controlled them back then. We have we've got it so much easier now, so much easier. These animals are so much more easier to work with than what we used to do. Okay, I an oven post in the middle of my round pen, and when we roped them, I put that rope around that snubbing post and let them fight it out. Okay, that was before the come along rope. That was before the round pen training that I would do. Okay, but we had that kind of animals. Were tough. These animals today are fluffy. They're easy to get along with, but unfortunately, since most people are not ranch minded. Okay. Now, I was never raised on a ranch. My parents didn't know which end of a dog to feed. All right. So don't think I was raised on a ranch, yada, yada, yada. I was not. Okay. I learned from Nick West, DeLoss Burt, Bud Brown, old cowboys that was their way of life. That was what they done, their way of life. And so therefore, folks, that's how I learned. I tell folks, cowboys are born. They're not made.
Awesome. Very good. Next question. This one come in from Marcia. She says, do you ever have problems in finding square bales of hay? I am right now. The farmers are all round baling. What's the difference? Why would that matter, square versus round? And have you had trouble locating square bales?
Well, I'm anymore. I don't have any mules around. I always fed pellets. I personally feed pellets. Your background left, Dave. Oh, there you are. You're back again. Okay. I've always fed pellets, so I don't feed hay. I'm in Arizona, and right now I buy cow hay, which is hay that's gotten wet, for my sheep, and these sheep are what I use for my dog Jess to train on. And so yes, but here's the problem: the round bales weigh upwards of 400 pounds and need machinery to get them around. Where these square bales, they're 80-pound bales, and you can pretty much lift them, move them around yourself. So right now, I've seen hay as high as $40 a bale here.
Awesome. Hopping back over. Sherman Johnson is watching on Facebook from Oklahoma, 60 degrees with 40-mile-per-hour winds. Judy is watching where it's sunny and windy, breaking temperature records in the mid-50s in my part of Michigan. That is chilly. Let's see here. Over on YouTube, got a question here. I have a wild male donkey that's not fixed. I tried to rope him. He goes nuts, spinning and bucking. Should I fight him out? I'm a city guy trying to figure this out. What would you have for our friend Mr. Smith?
Yep, fight him out. You know, here's the deal. There's nothing meaner and nastier than a mule that still has his testicles intact. They are the most vicious, nastiest things I have ever seen. And the older they are, the harder they are to do anything with. So are you going to have to rope him? Yes. If you can get him in a squeeze chute, that would be the best. If you can get him to where you can get him between a gate and a corral panel and squeeze him and hold him, that would be great. But otherwise, yes, you're going to have to rope him. I like to rope a hind leg, but I'm setting on a good mule. And when I rope a hind leg, I can jerk up that leg and dally it up, and I can take that fight out of him a lot quicker. I used to choke them down, but that can be pretty tough on them animals. It's tough enough doing a back leg, but yeah, you're going to have to fight it out. Either that, or find a veterinarian that's worked around zoo animals to where he knows how to quickly give a shot, and that animal will go to sleep while they castrate him. But I can tell you, and this ain't very pretty. I can tell you the last one that was brought to me, that was a male, a mule still intact with his testicles. We ended up shooting him because he was so vicious. He would have just hurt somebody really bad. It just, folks, you have to draw a line. Do I want to do that? No. But is it worth it really to have somebody getting hurt? No, it's not. It's not. And I've been around them enough. I can tell you which ones aren't and which ones are. Yeah.
What do we got there?
Hey, looky there.
What do we have there?
For a mule, every day is different. Yep.
Y'all, take a look there. Steve, I know that folks have been asking, and we do have the For a Mule Every Day is Different t-shirt. And so I put a link in the comment section. Looks like maybe it didn't post. I'll put it in there again. T-shirt link. Y'all can order Facebook. Your... What's that?
How about Facebook?
Facebook and YouTube, yeah. Y'all can go on there and you can order your shirt. We've got reports coming in from all over the country. Folks who are thrilled with their Steve Edwards Queen Valley Mule Ranch shirt. Now, Steve has shipped these out, and he's got more, and he's ready to ship them to you. So I put a link in the comment section there. Y'all can go check it out. Put in your order. We've got sizes for both mule and for donkey, from extra small all the way to double extra large. So if that's what you're in the market for, we got something else there, Steve. What else do we got there?
Oh, I wonder what that is. Oh,
look at that right there, folks. Can you spot it?
That mule right there was actually Susan's mule, Stacy, and that brand in the middle, QVM, is actually the brand, which is an Arizona certified ranch brand, and that is now my logo. And I had some hats made up because I thought maybe some mule folks on a ride would like to have the t-shirt and the hat and go first class.
Go first class, you'll never go back. Steve, I got another question. This one came in on YouTube. This one came in on Facebook. Says, is there any info on correct mule trim? And how do I achieve correcting contracted heels? I would love to see some more information on what you do if your mule does have contracted heel. No mule farriers around here, so need the info myself. What would you say to Tamara?
All right. It's not difficult, but yet it's difficult. Here's the deal. Here's the heels. All right. These are the heels. This is the front of the shoe back here. Now, this one heel or both of them are coming in. Okay. And I don't mean to have one higher than the other, but there we are. And I overdid it there. And what that does is that puts pressure on the frog and makes the frog real small. So what do we have to do? We have to bring the heel out. And the way we do that is the shoes, which are on the mule's back, are flat. And what we do is we take the one or both heels and we turn the back of the shoes where they're at an angle so that the foot comes down and goes off. The outside wall of the shoe, of the foot, will work its way out. So every time the foot comes down, it goes outside the shoe. It goes up and down, hits the ground, goes outside the shoe. So instead of a foot being flat, okay, it's the what's called the branch of the shoe, the back of the shoe will be tilted a little bit. Then every time the hoof wall comes down on it, it kicks it down. You see that? Kicks it down. Kicks it down like that. So he lays, the foot goes down, the foot spreads out. Foot goes down, foot spreads out. So simply, now you're not going to turn the heel real drastic. You're just going to take it from being flat to just a teeny bit of an angle. And you're going to do it little by little by little. Now, there's something called the bars of the foot. Now, you all can go online and you can actually watch different farriers doing different work on shoes. Put in your online, put on their contracted heels. And you can see some pictures and this sort of thing. Some of what happens there is some of what happens with the mule. The big thing is what they do is they just bring the shoe out a little bit. What I do is turn the shoe so that the foot will go down and spread out. So that's what you're going to have to do. And two, it's best when it's wet. When the hoof is wet, it's not as dry, and it's more malleable. It's more, in other words, it moves easier when you do that. Now, I can tell you, get ready, because it's going to be 12 to 14, maybe 16 months before you really start seeing a difference. But is it worth it? Absolutely. You know, I'm going to tell you, I've rarely seen a mule that didn't have a contracted heel. Rarely. And most people don't understand it, okay? Especially farriers. Most of them are used to doing horses, so they don't see a contracted heel. Why do we have contracted heels? Because of the donkey hoof. It is the worst hoof out there. It's already contracted from birth, okay? And then that hoof gets passed on to the donkey. Oh, Dave, I have a very, 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 very old mule shoe, and I just remembered it out here on the table out on the patio.
Well, go get it.
Let me go get it.
Go grab it.
I got to get my come along coffee as I go anyway.
He two birds, one stone. Folks, if this is your first time ever hanging out with us, welcome. My name is Dave. That was Steve Edwards. He will be back. Don't worry. He knows his way around his kitchen, so he'll be back in a few minutes. But we're so glad that you're here hanging out with us. We get together with the folks that you see here on Facebook and YouTube every single week, talking mules and donkeys, and it's just a lot of fun. We've made a lot of really great friends. We've had international travelers. We've gone international. It's just been really cool to see how many mule and donkey folks are out there, and to be able to help them as best we can. Every week we do this, and there's really only three things we ask. First, if you're watching, we want to know, put your name, where you're watching from, what the weather is like in the comment section. We believe that you matter. We believe that your identity matters, that who you are is important. We believe that it's great that there's a computer and there's a screen and the internet to help us connect like this. But really, it's all for naught if it doesn't cause us to go deeper and it inspire us to make friends with people who might be able to help us get more out of life. So we want to know that you're here. Don't be anonymous. Be known. Put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like in the comment section. The second thing is go ahead and ask any and every mule or donkey question that you've got. We're here to provide answers. We're going to tell you straight. Sometimes it'll be easy to hear. Sometimes it'll be tough to hear. Sometimes it'll be simple. Sometimes it'll take a lot of patience. Sometimes it'll be free. And oh, what is that? That's our F word. That's free. And sometimes it's going to cost a little bit of investment, but in the end, it will all be worth it. So ask any and every mule or donkey question that you got, and we'll answer them. And the last thing we ask you to do is to share the broadcast with your friends or family. There are tools on YouTube. There are tools on Facebook to do that, and that helps with the algorithms. And that helps other mule and donkey folks find us. We've got so many mule and donkey folks who continue to reach out and say, I've been looking for information like this. I found you. I'm so grateful. We get reports like that every single week coming in, and that's because of you. That's because of you sharing. That's because of you watching and commenting. Steve, what do we got there?
All right. This is a very, very old mule shoe. Okay. Now, right out here, not too far from about 2 miles from where I am, used to be the stagecoach route. And it used to be the route that they freighted wagons back and forth when they were going up to Roosevelt Lake to build Roosevelt Dam. Do you see this shoe? Notice how it comes down, it curves in, and then comes down again. See, it curves in because that's what the donkey foot does. It curves in right at the quarter. This is called the quarter, okay? And so it comes in at the quarter and then it comes back out. That's the way they shaped it, okay? Because that's the way, especially back then, we're talking 100 years ago, probably longer. That is why you see the feet the way they were. So they would design the shoe to fit that hoof. Now we're breeding better, and this part where it's curving in is just about gone, but it's still a weak place on the hoof, and that is where you get the contraction. Notice how wide this shoe is. Wide, okay? You'll see a lot of these shoes really narrow area, okay? And with it being wide like this was most likely a front shoe, and you can see how one side is curved in pretty serious, and the other side's kind of almost straight. Now that's an old mule shoe. This thing is really, as you can see, rusted tremendously. And it's probably well over 100 years old. But I found it out here on the old stagecoach route and the old wagon route. And it was probably on its way up to Tucson or on its way up to Roosevelt Lake. But there's an original mule shoe right there. Now, I do have some other shoes that are mule shoes. Dave, have we got a minute where I can run and go get one right over here?
Yeah, go ahead and go grab it.
Yeah. All right. Right back. Don't go nowhere.
So while Steve's doing that, folks, I just wanted to remind you that June 2nd through June 4, Steve is going to be in Montana, and he's going to be answering just about everything you can think of when it comes to your mule and your donkey. Now, if you've got questions about shoes, he'll answer them there. If you've got questions about saddles, he'll answer them there. If you've got questions about ground foundation training, he'll talk about it there. So June 2 through 4 in Montana, I'm going to put a link so y'all can check it out. It's Superior, Montana. Y'all get signed up. And Steve, what do we got?
Okay, so you see this part right here, folks? You see how rough this is? And down here on the bottom as well, right here, okay? This right here, I weld this on here so that the mule is able to grasp the ground better, okay? Matter of fact, at the Grand Canyon, we used to take and we shot our mules. We put this drill tech on here so that the mules wouldn't slip in the ice. Now, this is a shoe that I made several years ago, and I made a hanger out of it. As you can see there. Now this shoe is an original mule shoe that they used to sell right here in Phoenix. It's an original mule shoe. And you can see, now look how wide it is, folks. Your mule should have a big, wide foot like that in the back. It should not be narrow. Now look here. Wide. Look at the original mule shoe. Look at how they're almost identical. Do you see that? When one is right, it's going to be wide and good, healthy frog. Healthier the frog, the better the blood flow, okay? So you can see what I did was I put drill tech on each one of these points. So when they were in ice or real slippery areas, it would bite. It would keep from falling into place. And they really wear good. And it's amazing to see the difference and how thick the original shoes were back then compared to how thick they are now. Y'all see that? This is the more modern shoe that I shape and this sort of thing without heat. This is the older shoes. You can see how heavy it is and how thick. This old shoe was probably that way at one time. You see it? So, the original shoes, we used to bend in right here, as you can see, to take care of that quarter. But with me, I only put 4 nails in. Nails, nail, 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 nail. Only 4 nails. Then this part of the hoof, this part of the shoe expands and contracts and keeps from cracking. When you see cracks on the quarters of your hoof, that is because of the original foot that we're trying to breed out of these mules so that these quarter cracks and this contracted heels are no longer anymore. I want to talk a lot about this in Superior. I want to talk a lot about I talk a lot about everything, folks. You'll see me do all kinds of stuff. Some animals, I even show you how to give shots if people are interested in that. If you've got a question for me, and I'm going to answer it for you. I'm going to, not only am I going to say it looks like this, but then I'm going to show you this is how it does it. You're going to see that at my clinics. And by the way, Dave, as you know, I'm 73 years old. I'm not doing this stuff much more anymore. So doing this clinic up there in Montana, it's pretty much going to be the probably about the only one for the year, as far as I know. But anyway, there you are, folks. You see those shoes? That right there. That's over 100 years old. And then this shoe here was made in Arizona, in Phoenix. You see how thick it is compared to the modern day shoes. You see how thin they are. And these are actual shoes that I actually used on my mules, and I am making coat hangers out of them.
Nike wishes they could have shoes like that.
Oh, yay.
Can't even come close. Barbara's watching from Missouri. It's 50 degrees and raining. I have been doing surcingle work with the mule rider's Martingale. My Molly sticks out her neck and pulls on the bit. Will she learn not to do that, or is this something I need to do?
No, that's natural. Because you see, she's trying to tell you, I'm uncomfortable here and I want to take control. It's kind of similar to David. David's got the mule with the come along rope on him, and he keeps shaking his head. All he's saying is, I'm uncomfortable. But all he's got to do, just like her, is pay attention. Is be quiet and listen. It's like a police officer walks up to your car and says, sir, can I see your driver's license? Yeah, you should give it to him. But if you don't give it to him, all hell's going to break loose, which we've seen, and I won't go into any more detail now. Let's go back. All right, now look. All the mule's trying to do is find a comfortable place. So right now he's got his nose sticking out like this, his head elevated, and he's saying, I'm trying to get control of this thing. Well, see, that's what happens, folks. That's what happens when you're in the saddle and this mule decides he wants to control things. And all of a sudden you take off and you're gone, okay? So why not fix it in a mule rider's martingale? Make sure you have your breeching on, hooked up to your surcingle, because if you don't have a breeching, because it's called rooting. When they root on the bit and they push on the bit, they will bring that surcingle ahead, and pretty soon it's really loose. Okay, so I always start with the rope halter first. It's properly adjusted on the nose and this sort of thing. As they learn to get their nose on the vertical, which you see in the video, and to get their head down and framed up and balanced, then we can start progressing to the bit. But yes, that's normal. Just folks, these are animals, and they want to be comfortable. They want you to show them how to be comfortable, and they will follow your leadership. And so if you just leave them alone, let them walk around, pretty soon they'll drop their head, get their nose on the vertical, just like Virginia. Okay, Dave, do we have that picture Virginia's mule with their head down and nose on the vertical and quiet. Okay, that's not Virginia's, but that's okay. You see that center picture, folks? That center picture was the mule's head there. See a head down and nose on the vertical? That's what we're looking for. You see a picture on the right, the mule's head elevated, and notice the picture on the left where the head is down, he's chewing on the bit. The right-hand side, the head is elevated, and now in the center picture, the mule's got it. Nose on the vertical, head down, straight across. And listen, I forget what her name is right now that has this mule. Maybe she's watching. But she said it only took about 15 minutes. Okay. Now, sometimes it may take a little bit longer. Let them spend the time figuring it out. And when they do, they'll make themselves comfortable. They'll make them. Then when you get in the saddle and you're picking up on the reins, they know where to be comfortable. They know where to put their nose on the vertical. They know how to drop their head, you see? But you got to do your groundwork first. And you start out with the come-along rope, to the rope halter on the Surcingle, to the mule rider's martingale. Now, the martingale, with that string, notice that string there in that right-hand picture. Am I saying the right hand, or is it left hand and everybody else? But right-hand picture, you can see the string. That mule, notice the rein is not pulling on the bit. The string only is communicating to the bit, which is like a violin bow on a violin, which gets the mule to drop his head and get on the vertical. It's normal for them to get their tongue over the bit. It's normal for them to gap their mouth. It's normal for them to be like the picture of the mule on the left-hand side here, where he's chewing on the bit. Okay, that's normal, getting his head down. And then you can see when they get it right, nose is on the vertical, head is down. Now we got it. And don't worry about that mane. Okay, that mane will start laying down flat. I like to see a mane on a mule, because then when you climb on that mule, it's a lot easier. I wish I could remember the name of the lady that had that mule right there, Dave.
Was that Barbara?
Barbara. Yep, Bansel.
Yeah.
That's it. Barbara White. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see here. Stacy's watching from Indiana. Got my saddle pad today. Love it. David Pingelli says, a friend of mine has offered to sell me a real nice disposition John Mule. But he is so vocal, I don't think I could ever take him on an overnight trail ride. Fellow riders would be kept up all night. Beautiful day here in Manchester, Georgia. Is a vocal one just going to be a vocal one, Steve?
Yeah, they're just friendly. It's okay. Dave's friendly anyway. Him and that mule get along just fine. They'll talk and drink come-along coffee.
That's good. Let's see. Brady says, what is the difference between your mule rider's martingale and the German martingale?
The German martingale uses a lot more pressure. They have snaps onto the reins. Notice I have a string going from the rein through the bit and down to an adjustment strap. The German martingale always has constant pressure with the rein on the animal, and the animal never gets to get any relief. So you can see the string compared to usually they've got several rings on the rein, and then they snap into the different places, which is way too much pressure on the mules. I found that the place I've got this string and the adjustment on it makes it a lot easier. Notice this mule right now is just chewing on a bit. No big deal. Heads up. Notice the nose is sticking out, especially the right-hand picture. Notice the nose is sticking out, but as you've seen by the other picture, later on, is that 37 seconds up there or 37 minutes? See upper in the upper left-hand corner here. I don't know.
I'm not too sure.
I'm seeing something up here in my corner that says 37 with an I with an X.
Oh, that's how many people are hanging out with us right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, they're watching us.
There you go. Yeah, they're watching us. And several hundred more will be watching us after this is over. Right. Let's see here. Virginia says it's really hard to keep Edie's frog soft, Supple in dry, hot New Mexico weather in the summer. What do you suggest?
Here's what I do, folks. Around the water hole where there's water, I'll dig out a little dirt and I'll actually make it muddy right there. I'll spray some water on there and keep it muddy, and that way there is some moisture. Here's the other thing I like to do, folks. I was trying to think of my mixture, and I put it on the outside of the hoof and at the hairline. And I use the pine tar, linseed oil, and lanolin. Okay, pine tar, linseed oil, and lanolin. I think that's how it's called. And I mix them up and I put it on the outside of the hoof, especially right at the hairline. And then I pick up the hoof and I put it all on the bottom, and then I put it on the outside. And that helps a lot, especially when you have dry days like we have here in Arizona. But I also like a little bit of a mud puddle too. That does a lot for them.
All right. Tamara says, what if your mule isn't up to being shod? She's only just okay with me doing her hooves and not okay with other people. Can we do anything just barefoot?
Not really. The problem with barefoot is you got so many ways of unfortunately crippling the mule, especially when they get a gravel. Um, and that simply means that there's three parts to the hoof. Okay, you have your outside wall, you have the lamina right here, which is the white line, and then you have the coffin bone. The white line, okay, which is the fibrous, is the shock absorber to protect the coffin bone, which is the actual hoof itself. The outside wall protects it, but then this is the shock absorber. So here's the problem: is you can get a gravel to go up between the white wall and the white line and the outside wall, and it will separate, and you'll have separation from the lamina and the outside wall, and then you can have mud stuff start getting packed up in there, and then we can have some problems with lameness. Okay, so I can tell you this, folks. I would not ever ride one without having been shod. It's tough enough their own weight, but then when you're riding, I don't care if you're riding on nice little roads, you still got a gravel, you still got a problem. Now, on top of that, the biggest thing is the contracted heel, having a nice soft frog, having a consistent hoof. That's the biggest thing. Personally, I would spend more time teaching her to pick up the foot and giving it to me than I would riding. The riding's not the important part, okay? Try this. Try letting all the air out of your tires and see how far you get, okay? Before not only your front end goes out, before you can't go no farther. Well, one of these days you're liable to be way back in the middle of somewhere, and you got to walk back out because now your mule is too crippled. Folks, here's the problem. Here's the biggest problem that we have. Folks don't realize that mules and donkeys brace into pain. They're thinking, oh, he's okay with that saddle today. Well, yeah, but what about 2 years down the road when he starts tripping? And then you think it's the shoes is problem or the hoof problem, when no, it was the saddle banging on the scapula. Or let's go on down, okay? Picking up the foot and doing the cleaning. If you cannot allow a veterinarian or a shoer to do it, then why are you riding? Spend the time, fix it before it becomes a problem, okay? Folks, I will not ride anything until I can pick up all 4 feet and do it quietly. Riding is not the important part. It's like the guy with the ropes on the mule's legs. He thought it was important for the mule to get on top of the rock. Well, the lady probably thought that was a good deal too. The problem is the lady should have done it with her legs. The lady should have pointed the mule to go up on there rather than have to create force to make the mule go up there pulling on the legs. Okay, so going back to this, teach your mule to pick up all 4 feet. He didn't like it when they put the first halter on him. He didn't like it when they first caught him. He didn't like any of that stuff, but they will get over it. Most important thing is the health of your mule. It's up to you to help that mule to be healthy. And if he doesn't have a healthy foot, you're not going to have a healthy mule. You don't want to be stuck way back in the middle of nowhere and your mule not be able to get out with you, okay? Or come out so crippled. And I've been there. I've already done it. I've already screwed him up. That's why I'm already telling you now. Don't do that. Don't go there. Fix the problem now. Teach the mule to pick up all 4 feet, okay? And have it so somebody else can handle it. One day, you may not be there and your mule needs to be handled so a veterinarian can handle, and they need to be able to do that, folks, okay? We can't use the excuse, he won't let them. No, that's not the mule's fault. That is your fault. That is your fault. It's more important that that mule allow people to work with their, especially when it comes down to medical, okay? Teach the mule to pick up the feet. Teach the mule to drop the head and accept the bridle. Teach the mule to stand still and quiet when you're saddling them. And Virginia, when I see you up there, not only am I going to give you a big old hug, but when you leave, you're going to be riding that mule. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, here. Stacy says, do you have a few more minutes, Steve?
Go, yes.
All right. Stacy says, how do you make a mule okay with having his ears touched without him freaking out?
Okay. That could be one thing I like to cover in the clinics. I know we had one from the last clinic where we had an ear shy problem, and I showed everybody how to do it. And there's a lot of ways to kind of approach it. I do have a video called the Ear Shy Mule, so it's really hard to say it without seeing it because I like to show you too. So here's the deal. Okay, why are they usually ear shy? They're usually ear shy because people are putting on a horse bridle with a 16-inch brow band rather than a 19-inch brow band. It makes the ears squish and makes it uncomfortable. So they put on a pre-adjusted bit. The bit's been the same way for a year hanging in the mule's mouth, and his bars are uncomfortable, corners of his mouth are uncomfortable, and so every time you go to pull that bridle up over top the ear, you pull up on the mouth, and you make him uncomfortable, okay? So now, we loosen up the bridle, and we put it on that way. Every time you put a bridle on, folks, every time you put a bridle on, always put it on hanging down, where they can pick it up and pack it. So now where do we start? Let's start where we need to start. Put my left hand on the nose, where I can control the nose. If the mule elevates his head, I'm going to pinch his nose. Now it's going to take a little bit of grip on your part, and you need to keep them in a small area, okay? And I know it's difficult to put the come along rope on, but you can do that without having to go over top of the ears. But anyway, got your hand on the nose. You rub them on the forehead, and you work your way up to the eyes, rub around the eyes. As long as the mule is comfortable and relaxed, keep on going up over top of the ears. When the mule starts to get upset, wait, squeeze the nose, make him uncomfortable, create some discomfort, pain, whatever you want to call it, but create some discomfort. That way that mule knows comfortable, uncomfortable, because it's part of their language. So you're going to hold on the nose, and you're going to get to where you rub on the ears. Then you're going to put a bridle on without a bit. Then you're going to put the bit on. You're going to go from there. It's usually because the biggest problem is people put on a pre-adjusted bridle before they get the mule to stand still and quiet. Always loosen up the bridle, let it hang down, take it off. Next day, put it on, let the mule pick it up and hold it. Where the mule holds the bit, adjust it to that spot. Never put it on the same every single day. That mule will show you where he likes it the most. So I would say the video would be one place, Dave, and of course we've got about 480 some YouTube videos. I don't know which one to send her to.
Well, I put a link in the comment section to the one on the website, which really good. I mean, You'll find free stuff on YouTube, but if you are serious about making progress in this area, don't hunt around YouTube. Just go straight for the thing that's going to give you the result. You can figure out a way to get more money. You cannot figure out a way to recoup the time. So it's just a value thing there. Tamara says hi from Tamara says hi from Australia. Sunny after a big storm last night. That means we have gone international again. Marshall is watching from cool Nashville, North Carolina. Daryl is watching with Bobby Joe from Alabama, where it's sunny and 77. Cowboy Ken in 47 Clear, Connecticut. David Pengelly says, great mule shoe. Great mule shoe. Frame that. Linden, Tennessee is where Neil is watching from. Jerry is watching. Dave and Steve. Jerry from Indiana, 54 and partly cloudy. Rory says, heels and toes. Used them when packing in Washington State. Rupert is watching from Idaho, where it's snowing at about 32 degrees. Jim is watching from Western Maryland, 49 degrees and cloudy. Butch, 51 degrees in Kennewick, Washington. Neil and Elena say, I have a 4-year-old mule, never touched. What's the best way to tame her?
Put her in a 10 by 20 stall, and you do the feeding and the watering every day. Let her see that she's coming to you. Have a round pen close if you can. We usually had it set up so we had our bronc pins in the back on our round pins in the middle, and all we had to do is open gates. They'd go into the round pin, and then we'd do things like rope them, and we wouldn't try to choke them down or anything like that, but we just throw ropes around their neck and let them drag the ropes. There's not any one particular thing. Is the mule being gelded? That'd be a nice thing to make sure you got done, but have a round pin close to where you put them in a round pin and work them. And we've got a lot of videos and stuff on that as well. There's no easy way. It's a time consumer. Be prepared for an average of 6 months, folks, to build a foundation in anything.
Patience, patience, patience. There is no reason to rush anything.
That Marshall, is that Marshall New? Marshall New EW?
I don't see.
You mentioned Marshall from North Carolina.
I'm just trying to scroll back up. Marshall New, yeah.
Yeah. Marshall was at my clinic 10 years ago in North Carolina, big old boy, and he bought a saddle, and that's 10 years ago. And since then, he's changed mules a couple times. He says, Steve, that saddle fits every one of them mules.
That's what we tend to hear around these parts. Let's see here. Grandpa Ted and Gus are watching. Allison, they don't need to ask us to help on YouTube algorithm. Help by shared the knowledge by hitting the like. 6 inches, new snow, Montana, wind finally died down. Hey, what we got there?
New saddle pads coming out.
Woo! How about it, folks? Look at that. Get your sunglasses. Get your sunglasses.
Hey, we got some new pads coming out. And Dave, how are we going to get people to look at these pads and tell us which one they like the best? Now, we kind of had them look at them here about, 3 weeks ago.
What we could do is, you know what I could do? I could actually send an email out to everyone. If you really want their feedback, I could send an email out to everyone and ask them to do a quick survey.
Yeah, I think I sent you pictures at one time with these 3 new.
Yeah, you did, and I thought you were going to send me some updated ones, but if we need to use the picture that I got, I can do that.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and shoot some pictures of these here.
Yeah,
I'll lay them out 1, 2, 3.
We'll get them uploaded and let folks vote.
Yeah,
looks real nice. Yeah. Okay, I think we've got two more questions. Hopefully, quick here. Allison says, do you have any knowledge of hoof trimming differing when using a boot instead of a nailed shoe for cross-country long-distance riding?
You're going to find that the boot is not going to last, folks. Use the shoes, use nails. Don't use the boots. I can tell you this, and I've only seen it one time, and I've seen it, but don't. The boot actually slid, and the ankle actually twisted on this animal and swelled up really big. and they don't make a good boot that's going to work on a mule's hoof. Mule's hoof is so much more different. The one guy that went across country, that went from coast to coast, border to border with my saddle, can't think of what his name is right now. He tried all kinds of boots. None of them are made properly for a
Bernie
mule.
Harberts.
That's right, Bernie. Yeah, good for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Nice to be younger and remember that stuff.
Last question from Virginia. How do I introduce Edie to a thermometer in order to take her temperature?
Oh, yes, that's kind of different. Folks, I like to teach all of my mules to work on a twitch. And Dave, my last clinic here, remember that mule? She just almost went to sleep. We probably got some video of it. We probably should try to get that video on with my Twitch so people can see it,
Oh, yeah.
Probably a good idea to do that. Because, folks, if you're going to do doctoring, you're going to need to learn to use a twitch. And I think it'd be a good idea, Dave, now that I'm kind of thumbing through that in my mind and people can see it, they can see me actually using it. But also the video that I have on the Twitch itself, maybe we can do a couple of excerpts out of that. Folks, I've got a video and I've got a Twitch. You need to teach your mules to work on that twitch. So when you put that twitch on, it creates natural endorphins. They naturally relax. And then on top of that, when you go to use the thermometer or be able to, and that's something you should do, especially when, Virginia, you're going to be going on that trip. When you guys are going on this trip, you want to make sure you take some Banamine with you. I prefer going in directly into the main jugular up on the neck, but you can do it intermuscular too, okay? But and you can also do a paste. It depends on what your vet will get you to. I prefer to use it in a bottle and use a syringe. So take Banamine with you. Make sure when you're putting them in a trailer and take them for a drive, start giving them electrolytes now. So that's the biggest problem with mules, folks, is that I can tell you is that they dehydrate really easy because they get suspicious of water. They're used to drinking water that smells a certain way, and when you take them to a different place and you want to unload those mules at a horse motel, and they smell that different water, they don't want to do it. Now, you can also leave your mule in a trailer. I've done that. I've taken mules from Arizona to Montana, never took them out of the trailer. I know when the Reese brothers were taking mules to Bishop for the World Championships, they put them in a trailer in Tennessee, and they took them clear across to California. Yeah, they did that. And the mules did just fine. Folks, we baby these mules, unfortunately, and they don't need to. They're really tough. They can handle it.
That's it. We did it all. Steve, thanks for making yourself available today. Appreciate it. Anything you want to say before we're all done here?
No, I'll send you some pictures here in just a minute of these pads. I'll lay them out on the floor, and we can number them.
Okay.
And
don't worry about putting numbers on them. I'll put numbers on them. Send them to me, individual photos, and I'll take care of it.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, folks. Have a great rest of your day. God bless. We'll talk to you next week. Remember, muleranch.com. You can find everything we've talked about here, including registration information for the Montana Clinic in June. That is probably the only opportunity you're going to have this year to see Steve at a clinic. He may show up to an expo here or there, but as far as his clinics, that's pretty much your shot. So get it on the calendar, get your tickets, and get yourself to Montana. Otherwise, peace. Bye-bye.